Yes. Are we live, chat? Did you hear the Spotify? I think so. I would presume so. Danko. There we go. Connected. There we go. Are we up? Sorry to keep you waiting so long.
I've been waiting patiently.
So patiently.
Yeah. He's tired. He's been running. He asked if you wanted us to walk around while we waited for you. But he said no. He wanted to wait. Now we're ready. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now. Walk time.
Oh, that's dark.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might change the settings on the camera. This will only take a moment. We're back. Here's your headphone.
Blinding me. That is blinding. Oh, I'm blinded by the lights. Oh, I've never noticed that mushroom lamp.
Mm-hmm.
Cute.
Do you think it's a sign?
What? Sign of what? We should eat mushrooms tomorrow?
Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out!
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day!
That is for
Hello, Miley Cyrus.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, Joe.
Pleasure
How
to
you
meet
doing?
you.
You also. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you
You
very
have
much.
a fantastic voice. Not just a singing voice, but your talking voice. It's very unusual. It's like, it makes you step back a little, like, oh.
I've actually, recently I was walking around in Boston and I went to a museum.
might adjust that
and this,
later.
like, older man walked up to me.
Close? Huh?
Walked up to me. I had no
My
idea who I
sound
was.
is
He
terrible.
was just enjoying
wait,
the
now
art
it's
also
working.
in the museum and started talking to me forever about my voice and then there was a college, some sort of trip to the museum, and then everybody started freaking out. And it was so cool.
Kukis was just
how
listening
someone
to
stopped me about my speaking
JRE
voice, 'cause That had
podcast.
never happened to me before. I think because I was turned around. And
Kukis
I had
was
the
just
mullet,
listening
so
to
I
a
could have
JRE
been,
podcast.
You know, anybody. I could have been anyone.
It's
from
a heavy
Tennessee.
voice.
It's a heavy voice.
You didn't always have a heavy voice, though. Like when my kids.
We
love
want to
Hannah
listen to
Montana,
Miley Cyrus.
so,
That's why,
Yeah.
Jack.
So when I would watch, your voice was different.
What
It's
way?
definitely changed. I kind of learned a lot about the voice and how our experiences affect
That
our
way?
voice. I had a surgery in November on my voice. I had something called Reiki's edema, which when my doctor told me about it, He said, no one shy ever has this. This is for abuse of the voice. This is for people that talk way too fucking much. And usually, this happens when you're like in your 60s or 70s.
How do I not have that?
I don't know. I don't know. Mine, I think, honestly, really, I started touring, you know, at probably 12 or 13, and not only was the adrenaline that you have after a show, it's not really the singing that affects your voice as much, it's afterwards, you're totally on, and then it's really hard to get that sleep. You stay up, talking all night, later the talking all night, turn into smoking all night.
Can you relate to that?
And now, this is kind of where we're at. We got some dirt on her. You know, the voice can be like a face. It collects wrinkles and it tells a story. If you look at yourself and you go, oh, I didn't have this until this trip. You know, I sat out in the sun or I partied too much or whatever. Your voice does the same thing. It collects dirt.
It's very distinctive. Yeah.
Yes, it gives me away. I mean, I'm pretty much one of the only chicks in LA with a mullet. So that gives me away also.
Well, you're not in the right neighborhood. There's plenty of.
I know. I gotta dry out to the desert, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Go out to Joshua Tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Find the chicks that are tripping.
Exactly.
Yeah, with handmade tattoos.
I had a couple of those too.
But there's something very distinctive about a voice.
He's basically describing her.
It's true. It's kind of like, you know, when you see somebody and I think especially being like a female in the industry, I think growing up and changing and like kind of that, there is such a kind of stigma with aging. It's a very kind of scary thing as a female in the industry. And I thought about it a lot and thought about my voice. I actually had someone, when I was doing an interview a couple months ago.
You want to go to preschool?
She stayed up all night smoking too many
It's in the middle of the night
today. Well,
today.
I fucking have.
You can go there tomorrow morning.
And that's just the truth. And if, you know, that was anyone else, you know, it's kind of like you're weathered or you're aged or you've been through it. And, you know, we'll talk about it as we go, but
this is
over
preschool.
the last year, I noticed a really big.
You can keep
change in
going
my
this way,
voice,
though.
Kind of a heaviness to it, and I experienced some heavy things.
You don't want to?
And so I feel like it is a reflection. It is kind of a scar in a sense, but also just by having the surgery was kind of a gift also because I was able to understand my instrument. No one ever explained that to me. You know, I sat in a room with the piano and did scales and shit, but no one taught me about how do you have longevity? You know, you are in here with athletes all the time, and recovery days are the most important days. I didn't get recovery days. That was not important for someone that was making so much capital for such a big corporation. You know, the off days are days that money's not coming in, and I definitely probably didn't get the training that I needed to say, hey, you know what, I don't want to do this till I'm 15. I want to do this till I'm 80. And that wasn't always considered. Definitely not complaining. It gave me an amazing launch pad for everything I'm doing now, but I hear it.
But it had to be really odd to be working that much and be a young girl.
The balance it trained me to have is something that I don't think you are going to get taught any other way besides jumping in the deep end of the pool and hoping you know how to swim. That's the only way. There was no way I could have prepared for the amount of balance I would have to learn to kind of teeter because, you know, at one point, again, it went from, it was school, then it went from, you know, how much weed can I actually smoke and still play a teenage superstar on the Disney Channel? and then like,
What's the answer to that question?
More than you would fucking think. I remember one time when, and I don't smoke anymore, and I'm sober.
How long have you been sober
But
for?
I've been sober since pretty much the vocal surgery kind of did it for me. Because I just learned so much about the effects, which again, you're just not taught. It's not really the drinking, it's staying up all night. You know, once you have your drink, you end up smoking. And I've become the face of a lot of things, kind of against my will. I guess from my opinions, when you're someone in my position, your opinion becomes your identity, and it also becomes kind of almost like a...
Sure.
You kind of become this like preacher. You become this. You know, they don't really let you just always have your own opinion. So I've decided to start telling people, I live my own lifestyle. Alcohol was never my problem. There was other things that I end up, you know.
Jack is asking how much he has to pay to get pushed around next time he visits.
I now just avoid really drinking because I like to wake up at 110%.
Jack is asking how much he has to pay to get pushed around next time he visits.
Celebration in the future, but I get so fucking hungover now that I'm like, why would I celebrate with like just feeling like a volcano's erupting?
You can get
in
an
my
electric
brain,
quad.
So it's really
That's
just
what
a
I vote
personal
on.
preference, but it's
You
definitely
can just
not anything that I promote.
cruise around next to me.
I think it's a lifestyle everyone should be. I think everyone should experiment. It's a good time and you learn.
You
want to
go a different way
about
there?
yourself and the people around you, but now I'm watching. I have
You
younger
want to go on
siblings, and
the
they're
road
going
to
through
the
that,
right?
And I don't know how my mom did it with me. 'Cause it's
This?
scary.
This way?
Yeah, I think if we're gonna acknowledge the fact that all these things exist, cocaine exists, pills exist, marijuana exists, we should teach people how to do it right.
Yeah.
We really, I mean, you're
Yeah.
leaving children. It's the same thing with sex, right?
Yeah.
We leave children to there's the information that they're going to get is from other kids.
Yeah.
And if you're learning about sex from another 14-year-old or you're learning about coke from a 14-year-old,
This is new.
that's not good.
Yeah.
Like someone,
He normally just
we play this game with
comes
children
with.
where we try to pretend that, you know, they live in a movie.
All right, well, listen to this. It's actually funny you bring this up because I had the idea this week. Not that I really have time to do this in the near future, but I would like to at some point in my life. I want to do my own children's book series,
Yeah, Jack.
realistic children's stories. Because I don't like the idea that we teach them that this is sunshine world and everyone walks on a rainbow and everyone's equal, and you need to say that that's not. What are you going to do about it? That's not true. What are you going to do about it? And I think there's a way to not terrify children of life, even though I go in and out of periods where I think life is really overwhelming and terrifying. And that's coming from my position. And my position, I tell myself all the time, if you're not enjoying this life, honey, you got it coming in the next one. Because I better fucking love this life. It's the best one. I couldn't imagine being in a different body and having a different experience.
It's an awesome life if you do it the right way.
It's an awesome life. And I also...
Daddy doesn't want to go for a walk. He said he wanted to go home and sleep in the bed.
Did he?
Yeah, I asked. I asked if he wanted to go home. And he said yes. I asked if he wanted to sleep in the bed.
Oh,
He said yes.
big truck. You want to go and look at the truck?
I didn't hurt myself beyond repair in my experiences. I survived, and I don't even mean heart still beating survival. I mean, I had a lot of people
very
that loved
slippery
me
here.
around. I didn't kick all the people that had my best interest at heart out. That's where you die. If you kick everyone that says, "Hey, are you okay?" You know, out. No, of course I'm okay. You don't trust me? Get the fuck out. And so now that I have people that I've had in my life, I feel that I have people in my life that I've known for 15, 20 years, and not many people in my position get to say that. My parents are awesome. My dad's loopy as hell, but I love him so much.
Maybe
has
looking
no
in the
way of
window.
ever hearing this because my dad doesn't have Wi-Fi or.
It's just a few degrees below freezing outside.
My dad has 2 blackberries with equal an apple, which is not true, but that's what he says. So for his birthday, he said that he wanted to see if he could go 365 days without eating pizza because he had never done it before. So my dad has now gone a year without having pizza, and my dad loves bubble baths. He's gonna kill me for saying this, but his country ass loves bubble baths.
It's hilarious.
And so he loves to smoke his joint, eat his pizza, and get a bubble bath. So he said, that's what I'm gonna do for my birthday. So for his birthday, I organized a 5-foot pizza to be delivered to his farm so he can have all he can eat. And I'm the pizza delivery person on the box. I had someone draw it where it's me with my tongue out and a mullet delivering the pizza. And I got a bathtub on Craigslist, and I put it, my dad has 500 acres, so I put it in the middle of the farm, filled with bubble gum, just like my music video. And so my dad's gonna have a bubble gum bathtub and a 5-foot pizza for his birthday.
That's adorable.
That's next week.
I like the fact that he has no Wi-Fi and no internet.
No
Good for
Wi-Fi,
him.
no internet. Every
Probably
now and
feels
then,
good that way.
he'll drive to my uncle's house to FaceTime us every now and then.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow, he has to make a drive to FaceTime.
He drives. It's not far. All of us are just like, my dad's kept us a pebble throw away for sure. We all live on property. We all live really close to each other.
So if you did this thing, like if you really decided to do children's books, like realistic children's books, like how would you do that? Would you get a ghost author and sort of come up with the ideas of what you were trying to get across to kids?
Well-
what do you wish somebody told you?
I like that you mentioned that no one talks to us about drugs. I know this is going to be controversial to introduce drugs to kids. I think that there's a way, and I have to think about it. Wayne Coyne, who's a good friend of mine, and I did the Dead Pets record with him. Flaming Lips have been my favorite band since I was in 5th grade, and he's obviously an amazing artist. And he just had his first child, 1.5 years old. He's 60, he just had a baby. They're coming to visit me right now. And I would have him do all the illustrations, so it stays in that kind of surrealist world. Because I think that's what would get the kids to want to read this book, is that that the illustrations are still surreal. And I like that about children's books. But I do think that we do need to talk about you know, equality, and I do think there needs to be diversity in children's books. And I think also we just need to talk about the fact. I was actually happy to talk to you today because I didn't get to do therapy today because I would be with you, but it's kind of the same thing. And I was talking to him and I said, you know, sometimes it scares me that I'm too tough. And I feel like I'm not jaded and I'm not cold, but I feel too tough. And he goes, well, I'm proud of that because life is tough. And it's not to get hard.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by you feel like you don't like that you're...
If you folk if that's what we're listening to, this is Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan Experience podcast
With,
episode with Miley Cyrus.
I think it's a couple of years old. At least a year.
Yeah, I started listening to the Joe Rogan Experience a few months back. And then he introduced me to it, and we tend to listen while we walk. And then sometimes we get into a conversation and we pause it and we end up talking the whole walk instead. But we might talk a bit, then start it. We might argue, get pissed at each other, and then sulkily walk with the podcast on, like yesterday.
It's hard to disagree. Even if it's about hypotheticals about biology.
Such a weird conversation, too. Literally doesn't matter whether that's true or not, but yeah. Oh, brains.
Oh, brains.
Oh, brains. Oh, relationships.
Yeah. What's that name? Mommy something?
Huh? Who? What?
Is it Poison Me Mommy? What a name.
Do you need glasses? Oh, fuck. Babe, that is not okay for my ear.
Alright, we'll adjust that volume.
This is way too loud.
I actually turned it down, anticipating.
And I still broke my eardrum.
Yeah.
And probably gave me tinnitus.
Yeah. At least you have to live with it.
Yeah. Dumb comment. At least you have to. At least you get to live with it.
Will you take your earphone out and I can check if the sound is better without
So you just destroy your ear. Alright, good.
Oh shit, that's gonna take forever. Oh man, I don't have that. Well, I guess I can do one of
How
yours.
about I keep walking and then you have to run to catch up with us?
Oh, it feels exhausting. I didn't start jogging, it still feels exhausting.
Fire. I don't want to destroy your knees, old man.
Old man? Straight for insults.
We're not creating a great experience for Abby right now. So the
You can
lights
walk
and
back
the
and forth.
talking and
I don't think you have to be concerned. Just one moment.
How's it going? You seem very loud still,
Indeed.
because I could hear it. I was holding it in my hand.
Yep. Yep.
People are staring through
Yep. Figured out what's wrong and I fixed it.
Yeah. Nice.
I don't like that you're too tough.
Gonna stop. I feel that I worry sometimes that I can get over things easily. I don't fall to the floor.
Oh, I think I didn't fix it.
Fall to the floor and crawl up in a ball the way that I used to, and I think that's a
I'd rather just walk and not listen to podcasts.
I ask for your patience.
that's a part of me growing up.
Please.
Like when
for the follow. Thanks for the follow.
I fixed it. Took forever, and I'm sorry. Thank you for being patient. Whew.
Turn it down, please.
More?
Yes. More. More. Please.
It's very slow.
Oh, okay.
Because I can click, but it takes a while before nothing happens, and there'll be too much, and I go up and down. This is lower than we normally have it.
Turn it down a bit more, please.
As soon as we start walking, you're gonna want me to turn it up.
No, don't think so.
Oh. I'm taking down the Christmas tree. This makes me very curious. That's a big lift.
Yeah.
I wonder what they're doing. Is it okay if I turn it up?
A little tiny bit.
Whoopie. Generational trauma. Forkify says the sounds of footsteps make him sleepy. That makes me wonder, can you guys hear the podcast? I would imagine that drowns out the footsteps. It surprises me.
I don't think you. Oh, I assume they couldn't hear the podcast.
They can.
Oh.
Oh, they could. Maybe I fucked it up when I fiddled with the settings. That's the whole idea, that they should be able to hear it as well.
Oh. I thought we were just walking in silence and randomly laughing at nothing. Like two mad
What?
people.
You thought that? Okay, I mean,
Giggles a little bit. It's just quiet.
I mean,
That's what I thought.
yeah.
Well, that wouldn't be the weirdest stream you've done, or I've done, so I mean...
This is true. When I used to excavate before, I had music on, but they didn't hear me. I think this should be so they can hear it. Oh, you don't hear it?
I love that it's warning
I mean,
skiers.
right now it's paused. But maybe I fucked it up.
Did you guys ever hear it?
Yeah, someone said I thought that was Miley, so...
Oh, okay. Well.
Let me just have a quick look, Siri.
What time is it?
10:37. We don't have to take many laps. I'm fine with that. It's more important that I get to test these things, okay? Wait, I just wanted to be closer. I weren't ready.
You're blinding me.
Eamon, who's now been my therapist for 10 years.
Oh.
And I couldn't get on this plane. I was having a full anxiety attack. Was smoking a lot of weed,
How
was
old were
taking
you?
a lot of shrooms. I was 17.
17, smoking a lot of weed and taking a lot of shrooms.
And I started getting a little,
Yeah.
cray-cray, you know,
Don't
sometimes
recommend that.
doing some things with, you know, causing some fights with my boyfriend that were unnecessary.
No, it should
they
be-
got heightened. I remember one time I wrecked my car into my gate, and I said, "This is all
Figured out
your
what's wrong and I
fault."
fixed
I was
it,
the one
and I'm
driving
sorry,
the
guys.
damn car. And how
You
is
missed
this
some
your
funny
fault?
bits.
I did not have a great idea of reality at that
Right.
time. So I was leaving the country for the first time without my family. I was going to Costa Rica.
literally
and I
just
walked
walked around
into
in
the airport
silence and
I saw this
laughed.
book, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. I'm like, I want to change my
assume
life.
so
I
the
don't
whole
like where
time.
this is going.
Yeah.
And my brain is actually, I don't like who I'm living with. The person upstairs is like
There we go.
annoying the hell out of me. So
Do you
I got this book,
wanna
and
take
it
that
got
way,
me to
this
get
way?
onto the plane.
would
Now
like
I had
to
a
take
few anxious
way,
breakdowns
straight
on that
home.
when when you go to
I'm
places like
accepting of that.
going in the middle of the jungle, you take all those little planes, and all of a sudden you're on a four-wheeler going to wherever you're going. Every now and then I
Sleepy?
have to stop because I would get so lightheaded
Huh?
and
Are you sleepy?
stabbing chest pains and all that.
I've
And he
already
said,
yawned like 3 times.
drop weed first of all, get rid of the weed, get rid of the psychedelics.
Vodka and
I
pickles?
also cut
Yeah,
gluten
Jack,
from
I'm
my
down when we
diet
get home.
from a little bit of a time, so I could get an idea.
Not
of,
for
like,
this
what's
lady,
my
she's
body on a
sleeping.
natural level, and
Sorry.
I'd go for a
started
I
doing,
cannot
you know,
hear what you said at
kind
the
of
same time
blood
as
work.
Molly's talking. Impossible. Impossible.
Jack asks, vodka and pickle time? And I said, sure, when I get home.
Yeah, you're gonna play some farm stuff? Maybe?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe, yeah.
Maybe. I'm gonna go straight to sleep
Mm.
with it.
Yeah.
And, well, if you are streaming, I might not be able to do my regular routine of stripping down naked to grab him out of the stroller on the sun.
Yeah. And in case I'm live this morning,
Don't walk
Put
down
clothes
naked.
on.
Good point. I'll bring the clothes upstairs.
yeah. For your convenience, I could be filming Because I mean, this is the first thing you do when you come home.
That's fine.
You cool?
Yeah. That's fine.
Okay.
It just makes it a little more disruptive for a bit because I won't lie down immediately with him and soothe him back to sleep. I'm gonna have to take my clothes off, and that might stir him up so much that he wakes up, and it might take. Yeah, it could take a long time to potentially.
Yeah.
Or he falls asleep right away. I don't know.
Since he fell asleep sooner than normal, I would advise you to not try that. You can just tell me and I aim the camera away.
Well, as long as you don't have an oopsie accidentally just put the camera in the bathroom or something. This seems like a smarter choice.
Yeah. Forkify is going to bed. Good night, Fork.
Work, and I did some spec scans, which he specializes in, so like actually looking at my brain, because what I really like about the spec scan is, you know, you wouldn't tell me I have a broken arm without freaking looking at it. I could tell you, ow, it hurts, blah, 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 but like,
What is a spec scan?
So a spec scan, we might have to look up exactly what it stands for.
Joe doesn't
because I don't remember it.
Scan?
But basically, it's kind of like an X-ray, and it kind of shows you almost like in those thermal type colors of the activity of your brain. There we go.
Single photon emission computed tomography.
Yeah, so I have one of these.
Nuclear medicine study that evaluates blood flow and activity in the brain.
So that's my doctor, Eamon Clinics. That's his website right there. And so I have a couple of these.
How's your brain look?
You know what? He says this isn't right. Surprisingly good for the abuse that it's had.
Well,
I guess I
think
stored it in
about
my
the
throat.
amount-
Exactly, it's the amount of
activity,
time. And well, it's
too.
all, okay, so the amount of activity. If we're looking at like female and male brains, I mean, they're totally lit up in different spots, you know? Actually, I think he's even worked with some athletes of yours. He works a lot of like with football players because he says, you know, like, you know, I'm almost like a football player. For the life that I lead, I got to do everything else right. If you're going to go and live under this amount of stress, which is pretty abnormal, it's like you're getting hit in the head an abnormal amount of times, then I got to do everything else right. So I got to be pretty diligent about my supplements. I got to really care about the food that I eat. My mom always says, like, you guys are overthinking it. I've eaten Cheetos every single day. It's true. For the rest of my life. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not like a, you know, you're not a superstar that has to go on stage and do 2-hour shows. You know, my heart really needs to be in good condition. I need to be in good condition. I can't, by the way, my mom has a crazy panic attack. So, like, I can't have any of that. My mom had me had them slam the brakes on an airplane to take off and made me drive home from Canada to Tennessee. I drove from Tennessee to Canada 9 times because of her anxiety.
Oh,
I've
Jesus
driven
Christ.
from Nashville to California like 4 times because of her anxiety. So I don't listen to my
her to get
mom.
off the Cheetos.
Exactly. My grandma was on a popcorn diet where she took a trash bag to the movie theater and filled it up with popcorn. And she's like, don't I look good? I'm like, on the outside, it's fine. On the inside, I'm worried. Meanwhile, she's going to outlive all of us. So sometimes I worry about that. But I think I am kind of like an athlete in the way of like, if I'm going to be doing this kind of abnormal type lifestyle, then I have to do everything else right. So my spec scan looks pretty good, but I like looking at my brain and knowing, okay, so this isn't looking at me and going, there's just something wrong with me and I don't know why. I had a head injury when I was, you know, 2 years old.
What happened?
It's bad. My dad had me, this is really bad, but he can't go to jail, I don't think, because it's long enough time away. He had me in a baby backpack and I was on a dirt bike with my dad. And he was riding, and a tree had fallen, and he ducked, and I didn't, and I hit my head on the tree.
Oh, Jesus
It was bad.
Christ.
So that's what's wrong. Everyone's asked me that for
Well,
years.
that, you know, that's a common theme with wild people. Do you know that?
Yes.
Sam Kinison got hit by a car when he was like a little kid, and his brother Bill said it completely changed his life.
We have just
he was
different
just like
standards.
Same thing with Roseanne Barr. She got hit by a car when she was 15. Before that, she was like mild-mannered, really good at math. After she got hit by a car, she had to spend 9 months in a mental institution, couldn't count anymore.
Yeah.
And she became this wild lady who everybody knows as Roseanne.
Right. I mean, maybe I'm thankful for it. Maybe it, like, I don't know, knocked me into this identity or something.
I think there's something to. I'm not
He
kidding.
knows that there's something to that. Dr. Eamon, we've talked about this a lot. So when I get really overwhelmed, I also have a tendency that if I know something's stupid, I just gotta try it. To know that it's stupid, which makes it stupid because I already knew about it. Sometimes I'm like, is it better to know it's dumb and do it or to not know it's dumb and do
But
it?
don't you think part of that?
That's a head injury.
Well, maybe, but also
It's the frontal lobe of your brakes,
But
you
just
know?
the way you developed as a human being that famous at, 12 years old doing stadiums.
But I like looking at my brain and going, okay, listen, like someone cut my brakes, right, on my brain, and I have to take all the things, omega, I've been was vegan for a very long time, and I've had to introduce fish and omegas into my life because my brain wasn't functioning properly. And
Don't tell that to the vegans. They'll come for you.
they're gonna come for me, but that's okay. I'm used to people coming for me, and it's gonna be that I come out.
Celery.
No, listen. If I give home, I have 22 animals on my farm in Nashville. I've got 22 in my house in Calabasas. Like, I'm doing what I need to do for the animals. Okay. But when it comes to my brain, you're not vegan.
No.
You can't be vegan and live in this kind of and being this quick. But sure, you can. Some people can. I cannot because it was really I was
What
having
did
a
it
lot
do for
of.
your brain?
I feel that I'm
Slowed you down?
now I'm so much sharper than I was, and I think that I was at one point pretty malnutrition. Like, I remember going to Glastonbury, and that was a show that I loved. I loved my performance, but I was running on empty. Like, I was on empty.
Can I ask you, were you doing a vegan diet like meticulous?
strictest you've
were you
ever
doing it,
known.
but were you doing it intelligently? Like,
I
were you
did all my
supplementing the
supplements.
right way?
I do
and-
all my protein drinks. I've watched every bodybuilder's YouTube about how they still
You can't pay attention to those guys.
train. That's what I'm saying. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, I'm like,
Those
all I
guys
eat is
that-
celery, and like, why are my thighs like fucking huge?
Those
Like,
vegan bodybuilder guys, they're almost all on steroids.
yeah,
it's
I'm not on
fake.
steroids.
Well, and they're they're different bodies too. Some people, I have good friends that are vegan. And they're fine on it. My friend John Joseph, he's been
See,
vegan
that's-
for like 30 years.
That's
He's
why I
fine
think
on
Nate
it.
Diaz, I was stoked, was
Yes.
a vegetarian.
It's not- yeah,
vegetarian.
no, he
at
eats
one
fish.
point, or
So
pescatarian.
Yeah, he
that
eats
seems
fish.
that's
They
what
eat
I
eggs,
like
they
to
eat
do.
fish. Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
There's a lot of people that function really well with that, but some
Yeah.
people, everybody's different. You know, we all have different ancestors, and our ancestors
Exactly.
come from different parts of the world. And I don't know if the blood type thing is accurate, but some people really believe that.
So this is another thing that I like about seeing the brain is I try to eat for my brain type and not my blood type
brain
necessarily.
type.
My brain type. So my brain type, I really need breaks on my brain because
Breaks.
I did not have that where in my new song it says I can't bite the devil on my tongue. That was like a really hard thing for me to learn how to do.
Yeah.
But instead of going, I'm just totally impulsive and the most reactive person ever, I look and go, well, but my dad also slammed my head into a tree when I was 2. So, it's maybe
As a dad, that's hard to hear. That
I know.
scares the shit out of
I've
me.
given him a award for worst dad ever at one. But every time I go, if we're on Hollywood and there's the best dad award, I scratch out best and put worst. But he was also the best because he would allow me to do a lot of other crazy things that were awesome.
Well, you're fine. I mean,
I'm fine.
look,
My
people
dad
get
let me
injured.
steal chickens from the Malibu barn, that little red barn when you
Yeah.
come down to Topanga. My dad, they were going to feed these chickens to the snakes, and they let us back there, and my dad was like, listen, I'm Billy Ray Cyrus. I'm going to totally distract them. You shove as many chickens into the back of the Corvette as you can while I'm signing autographs, and we're going to get the hell out of here. So I did. I went, me and my brother got all these damn chickens, and we shoved them in the back of his car, and he was going to...
Snakes went hungry,
He
though.
was about to go work for David Lynch. He was going to audition for him for Mulholland Drive. And my dad brought the chickens in the Corvette. And he said, if you're going to have chickens in the Corvette, like you're playing the pool guy. That's a pool guy thing to do. So my dad got the job. So because he got the job, he had to stay in LA and we had to go back to Tennessee. So he told me and my mom to tell the people on the airplane that they were exotic Himalayan cockatoos, and we did, and they let them on the plane, and we had them in the purse, and they lived in a bathtub in on Hollywood and Highland in some hotel for a long time, and then we got home, and the night we got there, our dogs got in the chicken coop, made them all, so they died anyway. But that's the kind of dad my dad is. He sets you up for failure and for disappointment. But I like that about him because he made me tough.
Well, I mean, it's hard to keep dogs out of chicken coops. I had a dog that got in a chicken coop, too.
That sucks.
I had a lot of chickens at one point in time. And then after the last fire out here, my chicken coop, my house stayed okay, but my chicken coop burnt to the ground.
Damn.
And then we had to put them in a smaller chicken coop, and the coyotes got them.
That's the thing. That's the thing. You can't blame dad for nature. That's the way
No,
that it is.
you can't. Dogs will eat chickens.
Yep, they will.
Give them a chance.
So will snakes, apparently.
Fuck yeah.
They're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your brain, like when they do this scan, do they tell you what you should do to make it better? Like, what do they look at it and go, oh, you're fucked up?
No, they tell
do
you
they
what you can do
say?
to make it better. He
Reading a
works
message
kind
from
of
Jack.
with, I guess a lot of,
Oh,
kind of mostly athletes, people that kind of live
Turn.
abnormal lifestyle, and so
Injuries. Head injuries.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
just posted a cool picture with Tyson. He just works with all different. I love seeing the other brains that I'm allowed to see also because it kind of is fun to I would love like a Match.com, but like where people just put their brain scans. I'd be like, I like
this'll
that
work.
one. That's lighting up the right where I need
Right.
it. You know, you got something I don't have.
That would be absolutely amazing if that's
Right?
how it worked. Because
That's
you
what I'm
want,
saying.
like, personalities are weird. Like, people sometimes you go, wow, they just work together.
Exactly. And I think it
maybe-
has to do with that. You know, I'm not really looking now, I guess, for as much as I'm looking for I want the soul connection, but I'm more about the brain connection. I'm a very logical, I like to have kind of logic in my life because I used to be kind of owned by emotion in a way. I was very emotional, and that's what I meant by, I think we spun off of what I meant by tough. So I used to be very emotional, and that
You
used
used
to
to
kind of...
cry about things, and now you get over things.
And also more like, I would really kind of just like, I would just become such a recluse. I had that tendency. My dad said everyone's just getting on social distancing. He's been doing it since 1992. Like, my dad's been on social, I said it as soon as we walked in here, you know, it made
that
me...
was around achy breaky heart time.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
92 is...
That was right when I was born,
Yeah.
and that is when it was all crazy. So that also explains, I mean, I think somewhat of my, just who I am, my personality, how I kind of
Did your
move.
dad talk to you about what the anxiety was like for him when he became famous?
Well, my dad...
Because your dad was
my
fucking,
dad-
for people who don't know, in the early 90s, your dad was a fucking superstar.
But he had a very different
Smiley
lifestyle
Cyrus.
than I did, as my dad grew up in a house that didn't even have an indoor bathroom. My dad hadn't gone to the dentist until he was 30 years old. My dad had never gone to the dentist. My dad grew up poor. My uncle still lived in their same house. He got an indoor bathroom now because my dad, a G, and put that in. But he still lives in the same house.
Wow.
And, yeah, so my dad grew up in, like, you probably have seen it. It's one of the poorer areas in the country. My dad grew up in Appalachia in Kentucky, so did my mom. So I've been there a bunch, and I've been able to see where my dad's from. So he had a different relationship to fame because he went from nothing to everything. I went kind of from having, you know, everything. If we look at really the way I grew up, lived in a big house on a big farm. The only thing that was sad about it is we didn't have kind of neighbors or normal kids around, because I lived on this big kind of isolated farm, but I went to school, had this normal life. But I mean, if we really look at it, I didn't know when I was a kid that I had everything, but I had everything. So I went from having it all to having more. And that, I don't know what's harder to kind of humanize, I guess, about yourself, because my life is very unique, and so it's very hard for me to sit with someone and relate to them. And I think that made me really scared, because my mom doesn't like to be alone, so I have that fear in my mind if I don't want to be alone. But I think what makes you lonely isn't the amount of people are around, but like, am I relating to people? Am I really connecting?
Well,
And
you must have a hard time connecting to people
I do.
because they don't have the same life experiences as you. Your reality, it's like you're in a fishbowl. You're in a
Right.
different reality, and you're hanging out next to people that aren't in the fishbowl.
Here's the difference of the fishbowl. So we usually put the fish in the fishbowl. And you were born in the fishbowl. Right, we do it. And I was born into it, but then again, I put myself into it. So if you get a beta, you're the one that does it.
You did it when you were a little kid, and you didn't know what you were doing.
But my
though.
parents didn't really want me to. So my dad wouldn't even really go with us to the auditions. He was actually kind of mad at my mom about it. That was kind of a thing. And then my mom's like, I'm going to do this. So, she stays in this small town. She's going to be like everybody else that just ends up on drugs. So she took me to L.A. Mom, like, hello, I didn't even smoke weed yet. Well, that's not the AB that I've ever heard of. Like, let's avoid drugs in Nashville, so let's get more and better, a lot better drugs in L.A.
So, but we're going way off track. What bothers you about being more resilient? Because that's what it sounds like. It doesn't. When you say more tough, you're talking about the difference between someone who reacts overly emotionally to something. You would fall to the ground and curl up in a ball and cry about things, and now you can get over them. That, to me, is the sign of perspective.
Okay, so here's where it is, and I don't even want to have a conversation about, like, really, sexism or men versus women, because